headed out to dinner with friend Eddie and a friend named Janelle. I'm gonna meet them at an Indian food restaurant here in Ningbo. It's gotten really good reviews on TripAdvisor. So it's actually rated as like the best restaurant in town. So I don't know. Hopefully that means it's good. I haven't had good Indian food in a while. So I'm looking forward to it. I fly out tomorrow. And here's a little shot of the river. Yeah, Ningbo's a pretty cool city. It's small. I mean, it's small for a city in China, I should say. It's not a small city. Probably has more people than New York City. But it feels small compared to where I live in Chengdu, which is, 12 to 15 million people. Officially, I'm sure it's more than that actually. So anyhow, jump in the elevator. So I just got home from dinner, and the Indian food restaurant was called Ganesh Indian restaurant in Ningbo. Absolutely amazing. It was really good. It was really good. For Indian food in China, it was really good. Probably the best I've had in China. The only other thing that would probably rival it, would definitely rival it, is an Indian food restaurant in Hong Kong called Bombay Dreams in the mid-levels, which is some of the best Indian food I've had ever. So anyhow, so it was a great night. Janelle and Eddie, got to hang out with them. I can't talk. Got to hang out with them for a little bit. Eddie I know really well. We've hung out quite a bit. Janelle, we're work colleagues, but I don't really know her that well, so it was nice to kind of connect with her. Anyways, that's beside the point. I'm now walking around my hotel room testing out my new camera. I bought a Sony RX100 Mark V, which is a little portable point and shoot. It's got a flip-up screen, which is nice, so I can see what I'm doing. I can see my face. Not that it's anything to write home about, but it's nice to make sure that I'm in frame, I'm in focus, lighting's good, all that. So hopefully I'm in focus. I was playing with the autofocus earlier. Anyways, whatever. Guys, so I'm gonna head over to this park. It's pretty early, it's before 8 a.m., which means there's not usually any coffee shops open. Even a Starbucks in China. Most cities I go to in China don't open till 8 a.m. So anyhow, so I'm gonna walk for a little while, gonna check out this park that's right across the street, and then grab some coffee, then get cleaned up and head to the airport. But I wanted to take one last look at Ningbo. So a little bit I've learned about Ningbo since I've been here is it's one of the largest ports in the world. I'm not near the port, so I can't get any footage of that before I leave, but it used to be the #1 port in the world, and now it's like #3, I think somebody said. Interesting is that obviously the strategic placement of this city on the coast along China looks kind of directly off towards like Taiwan and Japan. But the reason it was so popular for a port is how deep, I guess, it is. So they could get really big boats into land for trading just throughout history. This was also an area that was conquered by the Japanese, kind of pre-World War II. So a lot of Ningbo is actually new construction because a lot of it was, destroyed and torn down during the Japanese occupation. Again, at least that's what I've been told. I'm not a historian. I've told you guys that before. Do your own research. These are just little tidbits I picked up being here for 3 or 4 days. Pretty cool. I'm in the park. It's really beautiful, calm. It's got some old architecture here. It's a house of some sort. Problem is, a lot of the in some of these smaller cities in China, they don't always have English, like on the signs on like the historical buildings to explain what these things are. So sometimes I have to make the story up or do research after the fact. Alright, so I made it through the park. Now I am walking through this little shopping district. I walked through here last night and it was just absolutely crowded. So I wanted to come back in the early morning and just see what it looked like without the crowds and the music and it was really loud, and they had a bunch of music, like singing demonstrations and stuff, which was all cool, but it was just pretty overwhelming. So, yeah, I wanted to check it out when it was closed. Of course, everything's closed, so it's not as exciting. But I think I remember a coffee shop. I don't think I'm going to get a statue of Mao for my house, but I don't know. That'd be a nice touch. Put him like up on the mantle, looking over me, making sure I make good, responsible decisions every day. Probably not. Hey, this is my guy. Gotta find where this guy got his coffee. So I'm searching. Opens at 8 a.m. I have no idea why. I mean, there are people out. Granted, there's not a lot of people, but I'm sure some of them would want coffee at 8 a.m. I know I do. I definitely do not want to get stung by that thing. 12 minutes before Starbucks opens. So maybe what I'll do is I'll head back towards my hotel, because I think there's a Starbucks back there. Everybody's out getting their restaurants ready for the morning, for their work day. The city's coming alive. The other thing is I love getting out early or late in cities, because I think that's when you get to see, some of the reality of that city. 9 to 5 you're out, people are focused on work, they're focused on their to-do list. Early morning or later at night, the city is dominated by, most cities are dominated by what people want to do with their time, personal choice. So you get to see the personality, I think, of the city much more than, during 9 to 5 or, 8 to 5 type of times where things are dominated by less individual choices, I should say. If that makes sense. It's really pretty out here. I've said it a lot. I really do love Chengdu, where I live. It's a really cool city. But it's really far inland, and it's in a valley, so it's like a bowl. And you guys have heard me complain about, air quality and stuff like that in the vlogs, and most of that is due to, obviously Chinese manufacturing, which isn't going to go away probably anytime soon, but also it has to do with the sheer geography of where Chengdu is located, and how it's in a valley, so all the pollution kind of sinks and just stays. Being here in Ningbo for the week, it reminds me of what living in a city on the ocean or near the ocean is like. The air is fresh. You've got blue skies, even with the clouds and the storm that had come in this week. It just smells fresh. It just smells clean. The river, it's a Chinese river, so it's kind of dirty. It's kind of brown. But I don't know, it's just something feels fresher and newer and more alive in these cities by the coast. And that's true anywhere, I know that. But I think particularly in China, where there is so much industrial pollution and pressure put on the environment from the things that are manufactured there, and the things that we all crave and purchase at Walmart and Target and other places. Made in China is famous for a reason. And that obviously puts ecological pressures on some cities in China, and I live in one of the cities that is regularly one of the worst offenders for air quality. So anyhow, I'm just trying to say it's nice to be in a city and spend a couple days. I've been here 4 days in a city that is clean, and there's a nice breeze, and it just feels totally different. It feels like a vacation, even though this was a work trip. So